Uh, Come on.
All right, everybody. Can you believe it? It's another episode of Franchise or Bust. I am your fearful leader, Trevor, coming at you. But don't worry, because as always, I have my fearless co-host and sidekick, Katie, with me. Katie, how's it going?
That's right. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I couldn't be better because I'm so pumped. This is my old friend from many years ago joining us today, Jordan Levine of Sola Salon. Jordan, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. We are pumped to talk to you. You are a veteran of the franchise world and the franchise space, and had many kind of different jobs and different perspectives throughout time in the franchise world, which we love. We love getting folks like you on so that we can really deem you an expert as we talk through the world of franchising. But specifically, we want to talk about what you're up to now and what you got going on with Sola Salon. So maybe if you could just give us a brief, overview of what Jordan's world's like working with Sola, and maybe a few things that are cool about Sola, and then we're going to get rolling from there.
You just built up a lot of pressure, so I'll roll with it. But you made me sound really old too when you talk about industry veteran. I don't feel old at all. I maybe franchising ages you a little bit, but I feel really old right now. So franchising is really all I know. I mean, that's really what I was born into. I worked in the early days of Cold Stone Creamery, and then went from there. But maybe I am old. Maybe I just am getting old.
You kept a good trim figure, even though you worked at Cold Stone Creamery for so long.
Well, notice that I'm not there anymore.
Okay,
it was a wonderful time, and I'll tell you something: when you can eat as much ice cream as you want, you sort of don't really anymore. So it's actually the best cure for whatever your big vice is. Just surround yourself by it and see how long that lasts. So I've been in Denver, Colorado now for the last year and a half or so with Sola Salons. And it's been just such a fun ride. I mean, and I think, you think about a career trajectory and all the things that you've done lead you to a certain point, right? And I couldn't be happier to be here. And I think every step along the way, I could not have been here if I had missed any one of those steps. And so it's fun to sit in this chair now at Sola, which is an absolutely wonderful brand, and continues to grow and continues to just completely impress me, coming from where I came from, all the different brands that were all equally wonderful, to come to this point now that has I guess the question is, how many times can I say the word wonderful? And I'll probably keep saying it because Sola just continues to blow me away with all the successes that it's having right now. And so it's the most fun I've had in my professional career to be here now with Sola.
Fantastic. A lot of times when we speak to folks about the franchise space, and especially in particular at the franchisor level, which is where we focus, primarily, oftentimes that can be looked at as like, well, you're at the corporate team, or you're the corporate level, and maybe that has a stigma of being maybe stale, but the way you literally have just come on here and immediately hit us with, I'm having fun. This is great. I'm enjoying it. Talk about why that is. And maybe now, certainly you don't have to make comparisons to the negative by any means, but like maybe just talk about why kind of, culturally and just different things about the Sola experience that you're experiencing now, maybe are a little bit of an improvement of what you've experienced before.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, because I think every step of the way for me has been fun. And that doesn't mean every day is fun. It doesn't mean that every circumstance is easy, but it means life is too short to not be enjoying what you're doing. And the minute you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's time to go. And I think, this idea of being part of corporate and being that corporate can't be fun. Like, where does that even come from? I think, corporate America, stodgy, buttoned up, that's just not how I'm wired. And I don't think it's how it has to be. And I think, part of being in franchising, the role of a good franchisor is to have a dose of inspiration for your franchisees and to kind of be the culture leader and to be the person that not only inspires people, but makes it okay for everyone, whether on the corporate team or in your franchise community, to also have a dose of fun. And so, I think life is too short to just be unhappy every day. And as a franchisor, it's our job to be the champions of our brand and to be the champions of life and to get people to want to be a part of it, whether it's new franchisees wanting to join this thing because they feel an energy, or whether it's existing franchisees saying, I have faith in my leadership because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it too. That's our job. And, as I said, it's really easy at Sola, which is a growth company. It's really easy to be excited every day because every day is an adventure. It's a journey. And, when you're surrounded by an incredible team, solid franchisees, and a growing company, what is not to be excited about? We're sitting at 630 locations right now and growing. And, I joined a year and a half ago where we were, I don't know, somewhere about 500 locations. We continue to open up new sites all over the United States and Canada. And that's just a great place to sit. The contrast of that, and luckily I haven't really been a part of this, is to be part of a brand that's failing, that's shrinking, that's closing up shops. We're not in that at all, nor should we be even close to it. We continue to see growth within the locations. We continue to see franchisees invest more dollars and buy additional units. So we're in a really good place right now. As I said, it's a solid core of franchisees, arguably the best franchisees I've been surrounded with. And so, all is good in my world. So what's not to be excited about right now?
So you've got the culture at corporate, right? That promotes the energy, promotes the passion, promotes the fun. And then that's the trickle down effect into your franchisee community, where you're motivating and you're inspiring them also to have that passion and love for the brand, which is going to clearly propel the hard work, et cetera. Talk a little bit about the model itself. So I'm a big believer. The reason I started with culture and I kind of started with, I'm glad you're having fun and things like that is because in my opinion, if you don't have that, you literally have nothing. Even if you have a great model, if you don't love it, if you're not passionate, it's over. So we know that's going on at Sola, which is fantastic. Now talk a little bit about the model. Like, is there, I think I have a good idea about what you guys do and what the model is, but maybe explain to us a little bit about what the Sola kind of franchise model is. And you mentioned some pretty rapid growth. Is that the plan for the next year or so to continue on that path?
Yeah, I will say before I get to just the explanation of what Sola is and who we are, I will say that while culture is paramount to everything and this idea of fun is critical, I will say that one of the things that you can't say that in the absence of strategy and in the absence of execution. I think all of those things are also of equal importance. So, I think it's nice to think that we have a party every day. That's not the case. The idea is we're also executing on all cylinders right now. We have a solid strategy as well. And so it's when you can have equal parts this and equal parts that, the answer is I'll take both, please. And that's where we're standing right now. As far as your question about what is Sola, Sola really is a unique model, and it's very different from anything I've been a part of before. So, you think about franchising, and there's a lot of similarities in the franchise space. Whether you're selling ice cream or massages, there's a lot of similarities to a franchisee mindset, a franchisee profile, how to partner with franchisees, and truly that is an art form that a lot of folks that are new to franchising take quite some time to learn. And it really is a nuanced skill set. And there's a lot of synergies across different franchises. What's different a little bit about Sola is our product is a little bit different. We don't necessarily sell widgets. And, we're not selling ice cream, and we're not selling tires, and we're not selling massages. We are a B2B model where we are specifically, our customer base is a hair professional. We call them Sola Pros. And our Sola Pros, we have just south of 20,000 Sola Pros right now. And our Sola professionals are from every walk of life in health, wellness, and beauty. Now, predominantly, we're in the hair business, so folks are hair professionals, but we also kind of go into nails and wax and massage therapy and aesthetic services, and you can kind of go the gamut all the way down to med spas, and there's many other things as well. The thing that's unique about Sola versus most franchise organizations is we don't really have employees. The folks that work inside of a Sola are independent beauty professionals. They have their own companies, their own corporate entities, their own identities, their own branding, their own everything. And so they rent space from within a Sola. And so what we do is we empower these entrepreneurs and we give them a turnkey system to start their business, to live their dreams. So what you have is you have folks from other walks of life. Let's just call it the traditional space, the traditional hair salon, where in a traditional space, you either are making an hourly wage or you're making a commission off of the revenue you're bringing in. And what people are realizing within the Sola world and within the independent space is I can have it all. And I can have control of my schedule. Instead of making a percentage of what the revenue I'm bringing in, I can get it all. So it's money is certainly a motivator for many people, but it's also flexibility of being your own boss. We actually call them Sola bosses at Sola because the folks that come and work in a Sola are their own boss. They work whatever hours, whatever days they want. They work whatever model they want. If they want to bring in a new service, they bring in a new service. They want to change the name of their business, paint their salon a different color, add some additional branding. They are their own entrepreneur. And so when you have 20,000 of these folks from every walk of life, I hear stories every single day when I go into locations and talk to professionals, and they say, without Sola, we couldn't have done this. And thank you for being here. And thank you for your support. And you also have to think about these professionals that are coming from a traditional model of employment where they have a leader and they get a paycheck, right? It's a steady job. I don't have to worry about sort of anything. That you're going to fill my book for me. You're going to keep my business going. You're going to do the marketing. You're going to provide the supplies. It is very scary to these professionals to take this leap of faith, to leave that comfort and to do it all themselves. And so that's really what makes Sola unique. When I talk about turnkey, turnkey means a lot of things to a lot of people, but turnkey is more than giving you four walls, which we will do. But it's about really giving you all the tools, whether it's from a retail and back bar perspective. How do we help you get set up on your products that you're going to need? How do we help you with booking software? How do we help you with marketing? How do we give you training and education? How do we give you a sense of community? And I'll tell you, that is a huge differentiator when we have 20,000 people that are all sort of marching to their own beat. There is a certain community sense of all these like-minded people. And we absolutely leverage that because that's critical to providing support to this new person that just started, that is scared to death of how do I leave my old world and start this? So that was a very long-winded conversation, and I apologize for going on, but this is the passion that I certainly hope I can convey. It's very different from anything else, and it's working with people and empowering people to live their dreams. And it's really a fun place to be.
I think that's so cool. That is one of the only franchise brands that that I've encountered that's essentially encouraging entrepreneurism in a lot of ways, and that's unique and that's cool, and certainly something that, especially in a space like that, the services you all provide inside of that space, that's certainly not typically your entrepreneurial world, if you will, inside of those service providers, and you guys providing that and kind of providing that space for them to have that opportunity is really awesome. So you mentioned a minute ago about culture being important, but also strategy being certainly very important, and kind of operational strategy. So we understand the model now. You're essentially getting folks set up. The franchisees themselves are allowing for these salon professionals to come in and have their space and be supported and et cetera, and then really be able to earn in a way that they would not be able to earn, otherwise. So that's the model. We know that you got a lot of passion. You mentioned strategy. Talk to me a little bit then about what the growth strategy is for Sola, and what are some of the things that you guys are doing in order to kind of keep the momentum going and keep that growth strategy moving forward.
Well, I think we think about growth in lots of different ways as a franchisor. And I think probably all franchisors would probably, I hope, think about growth in the same way. And you think about growth in terms of footprint of a company, but you also think about how do you drive revenue within the existing units, and how do you continue to grow not only existing units, but within a portfolio of franchisees. So they're seeing growth within each of their boxes, but then they're also saying, I want to double down and open up another one. What's so unique about Sola, and frankly, I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around how unique this truly is Sola is because the customer of a Sola and our customer. There's multiple levels of customership here. So our customer is the professional, but then the professional has their customer, which is the ultimate consumer, right? But that's really their customer. But when you think about who our customer is, it's very limited in terms of salon professionals. Now it's growing because what we're seeing is folks from outside hair start to take more interest in wanting their own space. So we're seeing a little bit of a growing pool. But what I'm seeing as a trend is, imagine a world where you know that you're full. So we have a lot of Solas that are full, right? They every door is occupied. And imagine a world where you have a wait list now. So now you're full and you have a wait list. So what do you do as a franchisee? You say it's time to open another location. Well, if you know the demand within your backyard, if you know what that demand looks like, what we're seeing is a lot of locations start to expand. And what we're seeing is locations that are opening up next door, across the street, across the parking lot from themselves, because they know what their demand looks like. And I've never been, I mean, we can make the jokes about Starbucks all day long, how there's a Starbucks across from a Starbucks. But in this brand, I've seen locations open next door or two doors down or across the street. And we're seeing that type of thing start to happen where the franchisee knows exactly who their customer is and that they know they can fill additional space. And so that they're trying to do is accommodate the demand of the marketplace. So we're seeing obviously new builds in new markets, but we're also starting to see an infill type of situation happen. A big growth area for us as well is Canada. So we're keenly focused on Canada right now. We have about a half a dozen locations right now in the Greater Toronto area, either open or under construction. We also are in Calgary, but we're focused on that is a new frontier for us. And so, the model that works here, largely it works there as well. And but it's new. And so the challenge for us is to educate the salon professionals that there's another opportunity out there. Within the four walls, we're also, when you talk about strategy and we talk about growth, there are so many opportunities also within the four walls to help franchisees understand and learn their business. Much like you would in any franchise model, you help push the you help push the limits of what those KPIs can be, and you help franchisees become more profitable. And all the same things that I would do in any other franchise, I would do here. The nuance to this is the low employment model is absolutely game changing in my mind. I can't underscore that enough. And we talk about, I think you mentioned, this idea of the salon professionals being so different. And I'll say it one more time because it is so different. In all of my old chairs that I sat in, it was the biggest challenge I had was finding employees. Well, I don't have to do that here. And frankly, their loss is our gain. And so it's a very weird position to be in, that all the chairs that I was in before, we were trying to figure out how do we get more employees to not only join us, but to stay with us. But where are they going? They're going to Solas. The traditional employees in the health, wellness, and beauty space are leaving those places because they see that there's another option for them. And so it's a very strange position for me to sit in, knowing all that I know about that world, to sort of have this perspective of their loss is our gain. And I certainly don't welcome that for those other franchisees that I think the world of in prior brands that I've worked with. But where I'm sitting now, this is a trend that we're absolutely seeing.
I think it's really cool that you guys are, at the forefront sort of that trend and some of that really empowerment of the folks that are coming to work for you all. How do you get the word out, about that? And what does that look like for you all? Is it, hey, we go to conferences, we run targeted advertising, we do, blah, blah, blah. But how do you get the word out to say, hey, listen, you're someone with, up teen, whatever it is, years of experience, being a salon, professional, you're tired of working in that spot. Here's a new opportunity. How do you get to those folks to really let them know what this excellent opportunity is?
Well, I would probably be doing an injustice to my marketing team if I tried to walk you through the strategy that they employ. But I will tell you there's a difference here, and the difference is very much word of mouth. And certainly word of mouth is always going to be the best marketing strategy in any brand. The difference here is you have folks that are leaving a traditional salon and they talk to each other. And remember, you're dealing with a very small pool of a customer base. We're not dealing with the general population. So imagine you work in a hair salon and your friends that you've worked with for the last 8, 9, 10 years are sitting in chairs all around you, and you decide you're going to go to a Sola. What's the first conversation you're going to have with all them? Or the first conversation they're going to have with you is, hey, how's it going over at Sola? Oh my gosh, let me tell you, the world is different out here. The possibilities are unbelievable. I don't really have to do a lot of marketing in that conversation because they're doing it all for me. And so that really word of mouth is valuable in any organization, but to the 10th degree here. So, obviously I could go into detail. We still put a lot of emphasis into traditional marketing as well. But a lot of people just are coming to us. And a big part of that, even we're seeing this incredible resilience post-COVID, where, if you think about during COVID, everyone was going underground with their hair professionals and their beauty professionals. People were doing services in their home when they couldn't go anywhere else. Well, Sola didn't really have to experience a lot of the same trauma that many other franchise organizations had, because at a Sola, you have your four walls. Everybody has their own enclosed space. They can close the door, lock the door. They could do whatever they want. And so, the appeal coming out of COVID of having that safety was huge for us. It was absolutely huge. And the idea of not getting laid off, when times were bad. There's just so many things that have really, I wouldn't say that we were not performing in all cylinders prior to COVID, but boy, are we performing now as coming out of it.
Amazing. Yeah, certainly word of mouth is king. Funny enough, I also had my own stylist during COVID. It was my wife. I mean, thank
it's
you.
Looking
Thank
good.
you. Yeah,
it's looking good. Yeah.
I don't know how she did it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So yeah, so we're rocking and rolling on the culture. Everyone's excited. You guys have your strategy and processes in place. Certainly unique in the model, which I think is outstanding. What is the and you guys are talking about growth and adding new locations and moving into Canada, et cetera. What do you think? What do you think is going to be a way that you all are going to continue? So anytime a model becomes successful, people are going to copy it, right? I mean, that's just the nature of the game. That's what happens every time. So you've got a great model. You all are growing. People notice. You're getting competitors. They're coming around. What are you all going to continue to do to really have that competitive edge against your competition that's bubbling up?
We talk about competition every single day, and we have to. And the minute you lose sight of your competition, you're a step behind. So, part of what we have to do is watch the landscape and make sure that we're staying ahead of the curve. And it happens on many fronts. And some of the things that we do at Sola to stay ahead of the curve, some of it's a little bit easier for us because we are the industry, the largest in the industry. And when you're the largest in the industry, you're afforded a lot of abilities to do things that others are not allowed to do or not capable of doing. But I think the challenge that we're going to have every day is to not fall behind. And when you're big, it's also sometimes harder to move a ship the same way that you can if you're a mom and pop onesie twosie. But as much as we look at the national players, in many ways, the mom and pops are some of the more formidable players that we want to take a look at. The big ones don't always worry us as much as the local players, because the local folks can do things in a very nimble way that are a little bit harder for us. But let's not lose sight of the fact that we are still locally owned and operated. That's what the franchisee model is. So as much as we're a national player, we should be pretty well positioned to compete with a local owner because we're local owners too. But the things that we talk about, staying ahead of the curve, everything from staying ahead of the curve on brand and design and making sure our spaces are fresh and cutting edge, making sure that we are providing resources that no one else is providing. So a good example of that, and I'll give you one quick example. We every year do a national educational event for our Sola pros, and it's called Sola Sessions. And we do it where we have people fly in from all over the country to different sites wherever we host these. We held this year's in Denver, and we had folks from roughly 30 states come to Denver to come to Sola Sessions. And it's a big event where we bring incredible keynote speakers. We had 3 stages. We had the general session stage. We then had another stage for teaching style. So one is more like the business stage where we teach business skills. One is more of a style stage. And then we offered a side stage where we also talked about different, nails and aesthetic services, other types of things. Well, our competition is not able to do events like that. And that is a huge differentiator. And it's something we want to talk to our Sola pros incoming when they're choosing a space. We want to say, come to Sola because you get so much more. We do all kinds of training and education. We do weekly blogs, and we do podcasts, and we give them tools even for the Sola Pro that it's time for them to raise their price. Well, they're not given a ton of education necessarily on how to handle that tough conversation or what should our price be. So another differentiator we have is we have a program called the Faces of Sola. And the Faces of Sola, for lack of a better word, is an ambassador program where we select folks apply every year to be part of this ambassadorship, where then they evangelize the brand and they become part of the folks that help educate incoming stylists. And so one of the things that they'll do is they'll put a podcast together on how to raise your prices. And we then publish that in our app that only Sola pros can view. And so you talk about, why would you go anywhere else? Now, there may be reasons, if Sola's not in your neighborhood and this X other competitor is, I understand that. But if you have side by side, you will have way more advantages and way more access to tools and systems and educational opportunities and a sense of community that you're not going to get just by virtue of our size. And we think about this stuff and we watch what's going on in the industry and we say, how do we continue to innovate and what's next? And how can we continue to stay ahead of that curve? So absolutely, competition is good for the business because it keeps us on our toes and helps us innovate and get better every day. So, that would be the same in any brand, but we welcome the competition because it makes us better.
I love the idea that you guys are staying focused and committed to ensuring that the folks that are coming on board have a proper amount of support and a large amount of support, because as you mentioned earlier, can be a little bit of a scary thing. I'm going to go do something new. I'm not so sure. And you're there saying, nope, you don't need to be scared. We got you. We know what we're doing. You're coming in. We're going to have a relationship. We're going to do those things. And that's, I always feel like that's massively important.
Trevor, I'll just say one more thing along those lines. It hit me so like a ton of bricks one day. I'm driving in the car with a franchisee in Michigan, and I'm fairly new at this point. This is over a year ago, and we're driving in the car, and this franchisee gets a phone call and says, "Do you mind if I take this call?" And of course I don't mind. Of course, I'm his guest. Of course I don't mind. And so he takes this call, and it was from somebody that was looking to rent space from his Sola. And I'm listening, I'm on speakerphone, so I'm listening to the whole conversation. And part of when you're in a corporate office, you don't always get to be privy to these types of discussions. You hear about them anecdotally, you kind of know, but one day it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I understood this model in one fell swoop. And this professional, she says to this franchisee, "Kevin, I'm scared." And I got goosebumps in a way that I don't know that I've remembered the last time I got goosebumps like that. And his response was, and I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but we'll just say Katie. We'll call her Katie. Katie, yeah, Katie, I got you. We're going to take care of you. We're here to help you. I'm your support. We're going to hold your hand every step of the way. And the assurance and the sense of calm and that to me is more of a differentiator than anything else. Our franchisees are a true differentiator in this brand. And the fact that they take such care with their Sola pros, not just the ones that have been with them for 10 years, but the ones coming in, it truly is what makes this brand special and makes people that are taking this huge leap of faith, it makes them feel like this is the right move for them. And we see that multiplied time and time again in conversations. But it was that one day that I probably will never forget in my time at Sola, that was the first time I truly think I understood.
Are you listening out there? Do you hear what we're saying? These fundamentals are crucial and vital for success. Jordan is speaking about living inside of a current franchise model that is very successful, continuing to grow, and the tenets that have been brought out here in terms of passion, strategy, ensuring that you're paying very, very close attention to the franchisees, and not just the franchisees in this model, but also the salon pros that come along with the franchisees and how they treat them, competing in that local market in that way because of really paying attention inside of what you have. All those things funnel up to the top and funnel up to success, and even funnel up to invading another country and succeeding there as well. which oh, Canada, I wish you all the best up there.
I guess I never heard it put quite that way before.
Taking over. Jordan, any final thoughts before we let you go? This has been great.
Well, I very much appreciate you giving me this time to connect. And frankly, Trevor, it's just so nice to see your face again after all these years. For those of you that are, I guess, watching, Trevor and I have crossed paths in many different companies in the past. And I think that's indicative of the franchise world in general. You know, the franchise world is a small world, and I couldn't be luckier to be a part of it. It's fun every year when you go to events like IFA, and it's like an old alumni reunion again. And for those of us, again, Trevor, I guess I'll date myself again, getting old here, but for those of us that have been in the industry for quite some time, it's just fun to reconnect with the old faces. I should not say old faces. That's the wrong way.
We'll say seasoned, highly seasoned faces that, that's good. We can't still look like we're in our 20s like Katie, even though shockingly Katie's in her 60s. You would never believe it by looking at her.
I know, I look good.
Wow.
I'm 60.
You must be going to Sola all the time.
She lives at one all the time. Anyways, Jordan Levine, great. Super awesome to catch up with you. Great seeing you again. And you know what? I think we all learned something, and that's what matters. Everybody, you're more than welcome. Thanks for being with us. Everybody, we're going to see you on the next Franchise or Bust. Thank you.
Come on.